we're delighted to have Gene Bruskin, a longtime friend, a labor organizer, and now a playwright. I mean, Gene was the mastermind behind a brilliant campaign to organize workers at Smithfield in North Carolina with the United Food and Commercial Workers, a very successful effort. He was also the director of strategic campaigns for the American Federation of Teachers, and then tried to fool people by claiming that he was going to retire. Instead of retiring, he's written a play. So welcome to Arise, Gene.
Thank you, Bill. It's nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. So why don't we just tell us briefly, like, what was this play? I mean, how did you end up writing a play?
Well, I had an interest in theater and sort of political culture in the 70s, but when I got into the labor movement in the late 70s, that sort of took all my time for really mostly almost 40 years. And then when I retired, I decided that I was going to sort of return to this fold, partly because I feel like there's a dearth of culture in the labor movement, and culture that's non-commercial and that's directed toward working class people, and I wanted to try my hand at it.
And I attended a reading of this play. I was just thrilled. I thought it was fantastic, and I frankly I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you and I have known each other for zillions of years. I mean, but I never thought of you as a playwright, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting there listening to this, and it's a musical.
Right. I grew up in my house. We had musicals playing all the time. Everything from Fiddler on the Roof to West Side Story and My Fair Lady, and so it's sort of in my blood. And when I got this idea for a story, it just inevitably seemed like it needed music, because the music is, it creates a lot of life and a lot of joy, and it's a way to talk about things that you can't talk about as easily just in a word of mouth.
So give us an idea as to what's the central plot of this play.
So the play's called Pray for the Dead, a musical tale of morgues, moguls, and mutiny. And it's a musical comedy about political corruption and economic corruption, something we're very familiar with here in the United States. But it's told through the story of a group of morgue workers in a union contract campaign that leads to an unlikely uprising. So we got sort of a unique storyline in that way, but it enables us to talk about a lot of things in a fun way.
Now, rather than just you and I and Jennifer chatting about the play, we're going to do something different this morning. So why don't you tell us what we're going to do?
Well, I've after some discussion, Bill, I edited the play down in a way where I'm sort of giving brief narratives that introduce each a series of some of the songs in the play, and we're going to be able to sort of go through the play briefly, focusing on the music, but with the storyline, so that I think by the end of the show, people will have a real flavor for what this play is about, and maybe they're going to want to come see it.
Great. So how do we start?
All right. Why don't I just start by starting the narrative, scene 1. Pray for the Dead, a musical tale of morgues, moguls, and mutiny, takes place in an unknown country during a financial crisis in the early 21st century. It's the story of an unlikely national uprising inspired by a group of morgue workers. The story is recounted to the audience by a character known only as the Old Lady. She met the morgue workers while working as a cleaning woman in the morgue. Throughout the play, she's a teacher and a storyteller, and in the end, the secret identity of the Old Lady is revealed. As the play opens, we learn that union shop steward Harmon is arguing with the owner of the funeral home, Doug Graves, because Graves wants him to sign a union contract that severely cuts the wages and benefits for the morgue workers. If he doesn't sign, Graves says he'll close the 100-year-old funeral home. We meet the workers as they sing about their desperate situation, and they introduce themselves.
I work and work.
I get no rest.
I got no wealth.
I'm so depressed.
I have no hope.
I feel no pleasure.
I see no future.
I dream of treasure. We work and we work and we get no rest. No rest. No, we got we're so deep. We have no hope. We get no pleasure. We see no future. We dream of rest.
Johan, that's me. Sucking fumes for 15 years. But burying the dead still seems weird. I look at my kid and burst into tears, while my wife cleans floors for her career. But I'm still fun after a couple of beers.
Benita here. I once had dreams that things could change, but then all of my dreams went up in flames. My husband's dead, he was badly maimed. I'm a big-time loser in a rich man's game. But when I'm with my sisters, my spirit's untamed.
Harmon I am. Here I'm known as a union man. The rest of my life, it's not so grand. But in the morgue, this is my band. Today they're dealt a losing hand. But it's not my fault, it's the big boss man.
Stefan, if you will. University trained forensic mortician, lured to this place by false condition with no respect and crushed ambition, still paying off my school tuition. But with a corpse, I'm a deaf magician.
Hey, it's Helene. My old man pulled me out of school. He made me earn some cash cause he's so mean and cruel. Now this place is filled with ghosts and ghouls. I don't know why my friends all think it's super cool. Cause me, I specialize in breaking the rules.
Johan, that's me.
I once had dreams.
Harmon I am.
We have no, we feel no pleasure, we see no future, we dream no hope, no joy, no future, no life, no wealth, no rest.
And now,
No job.
The despairing morgue workers gather at the Grateful Dead pub to figure out how to protect their jobs. In a raucous, drunken mood, they joke about the idea of killing corrupt members of the nearby parliament to generate business from big funerals and keep their funeral home open. And they sing.
We work until we drop.
while they just play and shop.
They swim in jewels and call us fools. We just don't think it's fair. A parliament of crooks, using every trick in the books to line their pockets with unearned profits, sitting on their derriere. We just don't think it's fair.
If several millionaires
Just vanish in thin air,
will all say the Lord's Prayer,
Then bury them with care. They're sure we wouldn't dare.
we just want our fair share.
As the drunken night ends, morgue worker Johann and shop steward Harmon argue. Harmon ridicules the plan of killing corrupt members of Parliament to keep the business going, but Johann loves it. We then find out that Doug Graves, the boss, is under great pressure to make the big cuts from the Vault, the secret organization of the elite 1/10 of the 1%, led by Rusty Chrome, the CEO of the giant Steelmore Corporation. Funeral home owner Doug Graves tries to buy Harmon off by offering to make him the vice president of the funeral home in exchange for signing a sell-out contract. Harmon refuses, and the frustrated boss, Doug Graves, laments his fate. And at the end of the song, he's pushed away by the singing Vault member and CEO, Rusty Chrome.
It's not easy to be rich. I don't suggest you try it. But if you need a funeral plot, I'll gladly help you buy it. I see you all sneering, think I'm a fool, rooting for workers, thinking I'm cruel, but you don't know what I had to endure. A child so lonely, only death had a lure. It's not easy to be rich. Find bodies for each ditch. Keep workers in their niche. It's not easy to be rich. Dad ran the business. He worshipped each death. To him, mine's a burden just like his bad breath. Mom loved the business, I could never have her. To her I offered little, she liked cadaver. Now I own the company, I relished each corpse, but I hate all the workers, they're growing like warts. I give them all jobs, pay them a small share. I smile at Christmas, but they don't care. They might turn on me. After all I've done for them, they are ungrateful. Oh, so hateful. It's becoming so dreadful. It's not easy to be rich. Find bodies for each ditch. Keep workers in their niche. It's not easy to be rich. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
Rusty Chrome enters, pushing Graves out of the way.
Get out of here, you peon. Show 'em how it's done. Ready, boys? It's not easy to be richest like the lords of old. To run this world around us when we'd rather count our gold. It's not easy thinking we're suspicious. It's not easy to be richest. But they can't turn on us, 'cause they need us to survive. We're in power every hour, in a lovely ivory tower. They can't turn on us. We're big and they're just midgets. We're smart and so prodigious. We're the richest of the richest of the richest of the rich.
So we return to the morgue workers as they're trying to execute their plan to kill corrupt members of their parliament to produce large funerals and save their funeral home. Despite Harmon's objections, Harmon as the shop steward, Johann proceeds with the killing plan by talking to his old friend Arkin, the maintenance man at the parliament who's being harassed by the powerful Speaker of the Parliament, Joseph Loudon. Arkin delays the repair of the clogged office air vents in Speaker Laden's office. And as a result, Laden, a tobacco entrepreneur as well as a corrupt politician, chokes to death on a stogie in his smoke-clogged office. With Laden's death, Graves Funeral Home gets its first big funeral under the workers' plot. Johann then talks to morgue worker Benita, who grew up tough and as a young worker participated in an unsuccessful general strike. Benita at first refuses to join Johann, informing him that she's expecting a large death benefit check for her husband's accidental death on the job at the Steelmore Company, owned by Rusty Chrome. But Steelmore's CEO, Chrome, denies her husband's death benefit, saying the accident was her husband's fault. Benita confronts CEO Chrome and Dave, and that wealthy people like him own the world and make it work. She calls him and his vault friends parasites in suits. Furious, Benita now decides to join Johann's killing plan in a song.
Whisper from the grave, he wants me to do it, to stand and be brave. He knows I'm so angry, don't like to behave, but you gotta be kidding. You think I'm a killer? No, I'm not, and I know I'm not willing to risk being shot. But if you think I'm happy with what I've got, you gotta be kidding. This stuff is forbidden. Am I tough enough? You gotta be kidding. I wanna stay hidden. I've been through enough. You think I'm a leader? Well, you may have a point, 'cause there ain't nothing sweeter than busting their joint. But we keep it quiet, our souls to anoint. You gotta be kidding. You've gotta be kidding. This stuff is forbidden. Am I tough enough? You've gotta be kidding. I wanna stay hidden. I've been through enough. If you think I like watching the world go to hell, when I know I could change it just by casting a spell. But how can I trust you just because you mean well? You've gotta be kidding. I've got nowhere to go and nothing to show for playing by their rules. My heart's in such pain, the system's insane, it's all run by fools. Johann, you may have been kidding, but now I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. Johann, justice!
Meanwhile, a police investigator from the Parliament is spying on the morgue workers and reports them to the Parliament and to the vault. Benita decides to call her working women Sisters of the Spirit group together to take the lead in carrying out the killing plan. Harmon fails to convince Benita to stop her plan, while she accuses him of getting ready to sell them out. She presents her bold vision, saying she thinks this plan could lead to big change, with all the corrupt elite fleeing in fear and the workers taking over. Harmon disagrees. But Harmon then finds out that Doug Graves has been keeping 2 sets of books and secretly stealing from the company and the workers. The first act ends as Harmon lures Graves into a meeting and slips a pair of handcuffs on him, tying him to a casket as the morgue workers take over the funeral home to run it as a co-op. But Benita is undeterred. As the second act opened, she's welcoming her spiritual coven of working women. They decide to take the lead in killing the corrupt members of Parliament with a vision that this could be a moment of dramatic change for the whole country.
We are women, we're our mother's children. We have all been wronged. Listen to our song. We are of the galaxy, we are of the earth, we are of the sun. All our souls are one. We are of the galaxy, we are of the earth, we are of the sun. All our souls are one. We have suffered daggers, we have suffered darkness. We were meant to fly. This will be our hour. We have suffered daggers, we have suffered darkness. We were meant to fly. This will be our hour. We are of the galaxy, we are of the earth, we are of the sun. All our souls are one. We shall rise as one.
So we return to this with the Sisters of the Spirit, led by morgue worker Benita, gathering in a dark corner of town to carry out their plan to kill corrupt members of Parliament, generate big funerals, keep the funeral home open, and the morgue workers having jobs. They've captured and tied up a select group of corrupt, wealthy members of Parliament. They sing and dance as each corrupt member dies when their own crimes are turned against them. The corporate farmer swallows pesticides. The greedy banker chokes on his gold coins, and the nuclear entrepreneur drinks a nuclear potion. Tension is building in the country as many members of Parliament, fearing death, begin going into hiding, and the government virtually shuts down. Rumors swirl that the much-feared vault is about to meet and unleash the full power of the military if they can find out who's behind the killings. Then breaking news comes. The powerful leader of the elite vault and the CEO of the giant Steelmore Corporation, Rusty Chrome, has mysteriously died, falling out of his headquarters window into a cement mixer. The Steelworkers Union at Steelmore decide to protect the Steelmore plant and their jobs by seizing it and running it themselves instead of letting it get sold off to greedy capitalists. The Steelmore workers and their morgue worker comrades sing.
We got the Steelmore blues, we got nothing left to lose. We paid all our dues, it's time to end this abuse, and we will never, 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 never give in.
We're ready to refuse, they're taken without giving.
All their don'ts and do's just for us to make a living. First they steal away our dignity, and now it's their intention to have us die in poverty and steal away our pension. Got the Steelmore blues, we got nothing left to lose. We paid all our dues, it's time to end this abuse, and we will never, 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 never give in.
They tried to kill us all and stomp us in the mud.
They hate our guts, they think we're all such studs. There's pain at the mill, and the people are crying. We lost fingers and toes, and now our souls are dying.
We've been burned.
We've died,
Our lawns have been fried. We're overworked.
We've been maimed.
and then we're always blamed. We've lost limbs, we're diseased, we've been brought to our knees.
We've been crushed.
Lost our hearing, our health is disappearing, but 'cause you can't take our plant. We're taking over, no, you can't take our plant. We're taking over, no, you can't take our plant. We're taking over now. We got the steels all blues, we got nothing left to lose. We paid all our dues, it's time to end this abuse, and we will never, 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 never give in. We got the steels all blues, we got nothing left to lose. We paid all our dues, it's time to end this abuse, and we will never, 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 never give in.
Confrontation mounts as a general strike is called by the National Council of Workers Organizations to support the steelworkers. Workers everywhere begin to occupy and run their workplaces. With members of Parliament either dead or in hiding, the vault moguls gather for a drunken and chaotic meeting to make their plans. The vultures of the 1/10 of the 1% sing.
They want to kill us all and drink our blood. They hate our guts, they'll stomp us in the mud.
What the f*** is happening in this country?
Those people are ungrateful bastards.
It's the goddamn unions. They think we all are thieves and that it's all our fault. They want what we have earned, they'll break into our vaults.
I have ordered our military attaché, General Merciless, to lead an assault on the unions and massacre every last member.
So I say bomb them, shoot them, jail them, execute them, make them pay and pay some more. Make them pay and pay some more.
The old lady passes by with her mop and bucket and hands Rob Peoples a note.
This is most alarming. General Merciless fled this morning in his Hummer limousine filled with trunks of gold. The military has returned to the barracks to play canasta. We have been abandoned!
Oh.
Miss Represent raises her hand and stands to speak.
Well, thank you, Mr. Uoff, for staying calm and cool. Now, please, will you be seated and stop acting like a fool? And who will do your burning and the seizing of your knives? Who is still on your side and who's running for their lives? Let me say it clearly, though I've said it all before. We're losing every battle, and we soon may lose the war.
Just what are we gonna do?
Well, my suggestion, I
fool.
propose that we are under an assault, a full-scale assault. This could even be the final end of the vault. We are facing total revolt. Our affluence could come to a halt. We are under an assault, a full-scale assault. This could even be the final end of the vault. We are facing total revolt. Our affluence could come to a halt.
Plane loads of CEOs and their families flee, fearing that they are next. The old lady, the cleaning lady, who narrated much of the play, turns out to be the legendary Trudy Gardone, the hero of the historic general strike of a bygone era. As the play closes, she speaks to the audience and leads the workers in their final song.
I am so proud of Benita. I told you in the beginning that I knew a few things about a few things, but I didn't want to brag about being Trudy Gardone. But here's the point. You can only keep the people down so long. The upper crust, as they say, is just a few crumbs held together by a wad of dough. As my old cardio coach, Arnold Schwarzenegger's... Forget it. You get the gist, right? And these cowardly capitalists don't know that the people they step on are always waiting for our moment. We who mop the floors and fight the wars, who make the steel and cook the meals, who bury the dead and make the beds, who work the cranes and drive the trains, who nurse the sick and lay the bricks, who teach the young and shovel the dung. Sure, we get afraid. Sometimes it's even our light, our power, that frightens us the most. Still, we know it's right, and we hold on to the roots of our dignity, even when they try to cut off us all of branches of hope. And when the stars line up, when real change seems possible, fear don't stop us. We stand up, we join in, we lock arms, we march, we sing, we fight, we even risk our lives. Of course, you never know how or when it will happen. But while you're getting ready for that moment, join us. Street by street and town by town, all the people gather to take their ground, seizing corporate farms and taking factory floors with our own two arms, controlling all the doors in the paralyzed cities with fearful mayors hidden. The people flood the plaza and laws are overridden. Our time has come, our moment in the sun. A new world has begun, now we will rise as one. Our time has come, we've only just begun. We know we can do it, we just never knew it. But now
We've been living our lives, taking only what's given, never asking for more. But that wasn't real living, there is so much to share. If we're willing to share, to believe in each other.
sister and brother,
We don't need the bosses, they just get in the way. They're just albatrosses, now they've gone away. We have our own culture, our music and lore. Goodbye to the vulture.
we don't need them no more because
We do the work, and now we're in charge. It's our time to shine.
we can do it ourselves.
Today and forever,
Banding together, we can do it ourselves.
you can't take our job.
We're taking over now.
Just want our fair share.
We will rise as one. Celebrate every day. This will be alright.
Gene, that was brilliant.
Thank you, Bill. It's very exciting to actually do this on the radio because we've produced this at this point as a dramatic musical reading. We're not yet in full production. And so we've got this narration sort of works well here. And really what we did this for primarily are working class people and unions, and that's where our performances are generally, except for this Tuesday.
Jennifer, you said something earlier that's been rolling around my head about radio performances, and I'm interested in you elaborating on that because when you said it, all of a sudden I started finding myself thinking actually about the 1930s,
Yeah.
and about how on the radio you would have these real dramatic performances.
Yeah, pre-TV, there were these radio dramas, these serials that would come on. They were like radio soap operas. And so this is kind of a resurrection of that, playing it in this format on PFW. So I think it's really special.
I think radio is sort of coming back, and the power of this format cannot be denied. And I think you can put a musical on a radio. We proved that today.
Now, who are some of the folks who are the actors in this? Who are the people singing?
Well, we've got a really talented cast. The musical director is Glenn Pearson, and he's a well-known person around town. He's a president of Glenn Pearson Productions, and he does music all over the area. The play was directed by Michael Thornton, who is he's active in Capitol Steps, been doing theater all his life, and helped to really shape this. All the actors are professionals, but most of them also have their day jobs. But as you can hear, these are people with real talent and power, and I think that we need to give a lot of credit to the people that do this kind of work, because they don't do it for the money, that's for sure.
Gene, I'm curious how it works with a play. So you've written this, and I'm thinking about this because, as you know, I do some writing, and I have these ideas about things that I'd like to see in production at some point. How does it work in terms of your role versus the director versus the composer? What does that all end up meaning? Who has what kind of authority?
Well, I wrote the script. And then I don't play an instrument, so I sang the songs into my iPhone and went to a friend, Tom Smerling, and Tom collaborated with me on the music. He helped to write it down and helped to shape it, and then eventually we went to Glenn Pearson and sort of made arrangements. Once we assembled the cast, I had hired Mike Thornton as a director. He helped to sort of do the auditions. And then once we got all the cast in the room, I sort of turned it over to Mike, because I don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. And he took what I had written and the group of talented people he had in front of us and shaped it. He helped to shape some of the songs and the timing and cut where things need to be cut and not cut. And he both was in charge, but it was still a collaboration. So it worked very well.
Were there times when he made decisions and you sort of grimaced?
Yeah, in the sense that, mostly I agreed with his decisions, but, if I had worked on this almost 3.5 years when we started this process, and so I was wedded to every line, even though I'd cut and re-edited many times. But in the end, I decided that take his judgment for it, and mostly he's been right. So,
you mentioned that at one of the Busboys and Poets, and which one is it?
This is Busboys and Poets in Hyattsville.
And people that are listening that are in this area can get in online, can find out all the information online. But I'm curious because we're also broadcasting in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
And that's always been a hotbed for great culture, progressive culture, plays, etc. So are the people in the San Francisco Bay Area going to be left out of this?
Well, I'm really excited to be able to have this run in San Francisco. One of my great inspirations in theater was I actually was an intern for a summer with the San Francisco Mime Troupe a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But what I'd love to see the play go up in San Francisco, and if there was any local theater group that was interested in putting it together, I would go to great lengths to collaborate with them. I think it's ready to roll for any group that's interested.
So, when you're looking down the road, what is the next step? Are you going to, in terms of the play, but also are you thinking about doing other plays?
This is sort of all a work in process for me. We've performed for several unions this summer, mastermates and pilots and bus drivers and machinists, and we've got a couple more performances coming up. But these are all dramatic musical readings. I'd like to see if I could get the proper support. I'd like to stage a full play in a community or at different other union events, and sort of take this further. And if I get a good idea, I'd like to do another one.
Well, that begs the question: how does one support something like this? I mean, where do the funds come from to stage these plays and to move to that next level that you're talking about?
there's a lot of money that out there on theater, and if you look at Broadway and so, there's millions of dollars being spent, but not for this kind of theater. This is that theater is sort of theater for profit. This is sort of theater for people about profit. And I did raise a lot of money just on a GoFundMe page, but there are state art councils, there are private individuals who I think maybe I'd have my best luck, who really support this kind of work and would want to make a contribution to help it go. There are some foundations, but again, this is sort of a controversial play. It calls into question the same kind of things that are being challenged in our election right now, and corporate corruption and really the way capitalism works in our country. So not every foundation is willing to support it, but I'm hoping there are some that will, and that there are individuals who realize the power and the value of live drama, where people are actually sitting in the room. Because unfortunately, for the average person, theater has become like opera in this country. It's not for them. And so they don't even think to go. And that's partly why I've decided to bring it right to where people are in order to give them the exposure.
So you're not quite ready to compete with Hamilton?
Not quite ready to compete with Hamilton. And actually, not that I'm being offered, but that's not the audience that I want. It wouldn't be my greatest inspiration, and we'll see what opportunities come down the road. For instance, we did this for the machinists at their training center in Southern Maryland, and they packed the house, but all the people were on site for a training. They came out to the play because it was right there, and they were just laughing and yelling and clapping. And afterwards, one guy came up to me and said, "I just want to tell you, I got very emotional. It's just because I get treated the same way,
Yeah.
And another guy said, I've been working 35 years at Anheuser-Busch, and that's exactly the way it is. And this is sort of what I was hoping for an audience, and we're going to hope for more. And I hope that people will come to Busboys on Tuesday, and maybe we'll be out in San Francisco someday.
Gene Bruskin, this has been an amazing morning. I mean, this is really a pleasure and an honor to have this on my show. And I want to just thank you very, very much for being here.
Well, thank you for having